Hello, my name is Stacey Mankoff. I'm managing principal of the Mankoff Company, founder of After the Bell events, and creator of the Bellringer. And today's Bellringer, we're very excited to have Dr. Naseem Naqvi speaking on evidence-based blockchain, the what, why, and how. Dr. Naqvi is a full-time senior medical doctor on the NHS front lines, and he is the creator and founder of the British Blockchain Association. In founding the BBA, which is one of the largest blockchain associations in the world, he has raised the profile of Britain globally in the field of blockchain and DLT technologies. Naseem has set up the world's first scientific, peer-reviewed, open-access blockchain research journal, the Journal of the British Blockchain Association, JBBA. It is available in print and online with advisors from 58 countries. In 2018, he was named a think tank and a blockchain influencer by the UK Parliament. And in 2019, he established the world's first Center for Evidence-Based Blockchain, CEBB, a transnational think tank of blockchain academics, industry experts, and universities in 6 continents. The Open University, the UK's largest university, is also a member, along with 11 other prestigious international universities. He also has continued to work full-time for the NHS during the COVID pandemic, while also running the BBA. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Naqvi. Naseem, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Pleasure.
To get the conversation started, I'd like to ask you, what is evidence-based blockchain?
Okay, so evidence-based blockchain is, I think before I go into the details of what evidence-based blockchain is, I think it's very important to understand that we use evidence every day to make decisions, whether it's decisions about our lives, about our businesses, about blockchain or anything else. And that evidence is sometimes very good quality and very relevant evidence, and sometimes it's not so good quality and not so relevant evidence. So we use evidence all the time. And in blockchain or in any other emerging technology, we are always making decisions, whether we are a policymaker or a regulator or an entrepreneur or a CEO. And what we are hoping to achieve is to make better decisions. Now, to make these decisions, we have to rely on certain pieces of information to come to a conclusion of what we are going to do next. So whether it's implementing blockchain at our workplace, whether it is doing some further research, whether it's making a policy. So what we do is we pull together all these different sources of information, or what we call evidence, and then we look at it and then make a decision. So evidence-based blockchain is no different from, as you already mentioned at the beginning of your introduction, it started in medicine many years ago, and then quickly spread across most disciplines. And the idea is very simple and very easy to apply. Make decisions based on best available evidence. Now, this best available evidence is evidence from 4 different sources. One is your own personal expertise. So you say that I have many years of experience working in, for example, in Ethereum blockchain or any other specific area. So that's your professional experience, that's your expertise. So that is one source of evidence. Then the next source of evidence is evidence coming from your organization. So maybe your organization is collecting some data and you have certain case studies or research studies. And then you have your consortium evidence. So if you're part of a network, they're all working on same problem, trying to solve the same problem. So you have some evidence from your consortium. And then finally, you have scientific evidence. This is evidence from peer-reviewed studies, case studies, external sources. So someone else has done some research who is maybe outside your network. It's independent, it's externally validated. So that is scientific evidence published in peer-reviewed journals, and so on. So you have 4 different sources of evidence. So evidence-based blockchain is essentially applying evidence, collecting evidence, and then making decisions based on best available evidence to devise your blockchain strategy, whether you are a policymaker or a CEO or a researcher or an academic.
So when we're talking about blockchain with evidence, so what you're saying is that there really is no difference between applying peer-reviewed and evidence-based evidence-based science to blockchain as it is to anything else that you would be doing.
Yeah. So,
but
so most specialties, they have so the fundamental principles are exactly the same. Mm-hmm. In blockchain, what we have is we kind of fine-tuned it a little bit to apply those fundamental principles to blockchain. So as we discussed the other day, we have this PCIO framework: problem, comparison, interaction.
I'm sorry.
Now, one of the
Naseem, could you repeat again what PCIO? It's you're getting a little fuzzy on the recording, so I just want to make sure that everybody understands what PCIO means.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the problems we have in the blockchain space is sometimes people are not able to clearly define exactly what problem they are trying to solve. Mm-hmm. And this has been an ongoing discussion for many years now. We have seen it in the news. Is blockchain a solution looking for a problem, and all those kinds of things. So the first step in practicing evidence-based blockchain is you clearly define the problem. What is the problem? So P stands for problem. Mm-hmm. How big is it? Who is talking about it? Is this who is affected by this problem? And then what is the evidence that this problem exists? So mm-hmm. First of all, you start with a problem and collect all the evidence about the problem. Mm-hmm. The next step is you look at what's been done before to solve that problem. And that's what the C stands for: comparison or control group. Mm-hmm. So what has been done to date about that problem? Mm-hmm. And then you collect all the evidence about that problem. The next step is you look at the intervention. The A stands for intervention. So what is your proposed intervention? How is it going to solve the P problem? And mm-hmm. then what evidence do you have that it solves the problem? Have you conducted a case study? Have you published a peer-reviewed research paper? Is this evidence coming from your consensus, from your consortium? And so you look at all the evidence of your proposed intervention. Because when you talk to policymakers, when you present your idea to the government or your CEO, he's going to ask you, okay, what is the evidence that your intervention works? And then O is the outcome. So what are the outcomes that we are interested in? Mm-hmm. Are we interested, for example, if we are talking about use of blockchain for supply chain, are we interested in time efficiencies? Are we looking at consumer satisfaction? Or what exactly is the outcome that we are exactly interested in? So we can't just say, I want to use blockchain because it's going to streamline my business or revolutionize my business. These terms don't mean anything to an evidence-based practitioner. What do you exactly mean by revolutionize? What do you exactly mean by transform? Transform how? So how you exactly did it is by defining the outcomes. What exactly are the outcomes of interest? So PCIO: problem, comparison, intervention, outcomes.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Can you give us some, people like to learn by example. So can you share some real world cases from the JBBA that are using this evidence-based blockchain and why they chose to do that?
Yeah, so there have been many case studies that are published on the use of evidence-based blockchain. There are over 24 research papers that have been published now already. Some of them are in the JBBA. Mm-hmm. And there was one published last year on the use of PCIO framework for agri-farming industry, for example. Okay. how uh, we can improve the agri farming and agriculture practices by the use of blockchain. And the case study is already open access. It's published, it's in the journal already. And it starts by clearly defining the problem. What's the control group, which is traditional practices, and then the intervention, which is using blockchain, and then the outcomes. And the outcomes are not just outcomes in the form of a short white paper, but actually a research paper that was published in the journal, and also evidence of outcomes that are backed by scientific evidence. So this is already published in the JBBA, and there are many more.
Well, I mean, just to sort of give an example, like how was what was the problem and how did blockchain solve it?
Yeah, so the case study is there in the journal.
Right.
It's open access, you can read it. And it looked at how we can shift the power from the poor end, one end of the supply chain to the farmer. So there are multiple players and multiple actors in that supply chain in the agri farming industry. And it looked at various attributes. We may not have time to go into the detail in this talk, but
Right.
I would highly recommend that you read that paper.
Okay. How do you check that this research is true? How, what's, to make sure the research isn't false? What parameters do you put in, to make sure that this is all on the up and up?
Okay, so that's a very good question. I think that the difference between a scientific research and a white paper, for example, is that when you are writing a scientific research paper, good quality research, is to follow certain rules. So, for example, you have to start clearly with an abstract, which should include your problem statement, your summary of your results, your main conclusion, how did you solve it, and what methodology did you use? Did you collect the data? So you have to be very, very specific about it. This is very different from, say, writing an essay or a blog post. So when you're conducting a proper scientific research, you have to clearly be very explicit and define how you collected the data, what methodology did you use, and how you actually conducted the experiment. You have to declare any conflict of interest. You have to also explain some limitations of the study. All studies have certain limitations, so you have to be very open about it. And then you present and publish your findings. You present your findings at a scientific conference where it's reviewed, or you publish your paper in a peer-reviewed journal where it is looked at by your peers, which are essentially experts in the same field. So I think once you have done that, and once it's passed the peer review process, you could be reasonably assured that the research is of a good quality. However, your question about what if the research is later turned out to be wrong, can it happen? So yes, so while scientific research, peer-reviewed research, does provide some authority of approval that your work is recognized as robust and free of bias by the peers and the experts in the field, it does not guarantee that something that is published cannot be wrong in the future. It only demonstrates that the published work is relatively correct and free from major errors or omissions at the time when the paper was reviewed. And scientific published journals has been found to be wrong down the road. So sometimes people ask me, what if the research is later turned out to be wrong? I think one thing very important to understand here, there are many things we don't know about, but what we have at a cross section of any given topic at any given time is this experimentally determined result, which has been double checked and triple checked by different researchers and different reviewers in the field. And when you have that will not later shown to be wrong. But what we can find is a much deeper understanding of the topic blockchain, for example, what Newton described as standing on the shoulders of giants. So your results become an accurately defined subset of a larger experiment. So for example, Lightning Network and decentralized autonomous organizations and NFTs and smart contracts, they're all ongoing experiments and refinements and extension of the original experiment that was conducted by Satoshi when he first presented the idea of Bitcoin. So the new developments, the new improvements, the new experiments build on the original idea, which does not mean that the original idea is now weak or wrong. It's just that we have a much better and maybe a much wider understanding of the topic.
Well, I really thank you, Dr. Naseem, to just give a taste of what this is all about. And we hope to expand in the future with some panel discussions, whether it's online, or we're hoping that in the next year to pivot back to in-person meetings. Thank you again for this. I encourage everybody to check the website for the British Blockchain Association and for the JBBA. If you have any questions, you can contact us. And again, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing all of you at the next Bellringer. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.